for the Drew Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impacts. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins.
Hey, Drew, super excited to be here.
Oh no. Was I muted the whole time I was up on that?
You were muted the whole time.
All right. Well, I will
Start over.
Yeah. We'll just start over. It's a live show, but thanks for listening, folks.
All right. We'll go. This is great. This is how entrepreneurship works.
All right. Today, we're going to be answering the question, what if AI isn't just a tool for profit, but a lever for redemption? Ben Reno Webber. Ben is a serial entrepreneur who spent his life leading innovation, launching successful companies, and making meaningful social impact. From essential innovations to U of L, he's turning AI, tax credits, and civic tech into tools for second chances and system level change. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Ben.
Welcome. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So just for the audience here, Ben is a dear friend of mine. We actually have a lot more connections than I thought, but we finally sat down about 6 months ago and got to talk through a bunch of things. And literally every stanza of the conversation, I thought to myself, man, where has this guy been? So I was super excited to have him on the show. Extremely excited to talk about essential innovations, which you won a competition for.
I did. Yeah. It turns out the idea that we can unlock existing resources to help employers to meet their workforce needs and make money is a pretty compelling pitch.
Yeah. Punchline of the show right here. You are literally helping people that have frontline workers get money back for their employees, right? So like literally maybe 10 or 20% of their paycheck is coming back to the employer in the form of tax credits. I mean, that's a huge boon for business owners.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really incentive for them to have the kinds of supportive programs that, frankly, frontline workers need. And it's, I almost never talk to an employer who's got frontline positions who don't say, oh man, I am just struggling to find workers right now. And everything that we can do to help wrap around them and frankly, wrap around the employees who want those jobs. That's, net good for everybody.
Yeah. All right. So that's a teaser for the show. Let's jump into kind of who Ben is. This is not your first entrepreneurial rodeo. What have you done before this?
No, I mean, it's sort of funny. I started off my career thinking I was going to go do democratization and save the world in the post-communist universe. And what I ended up really figuring out with my first job, which was for the World Bank, was that when people are economically engaged, everything is better. Society is better. Those individuals are better. Their families are better. And so I've spent most of my career trying to work with organizations and systems that help people to either start businesses or find jobs. So that's been what I've been doing.
I love this. I didn't realize that you'd worked at the World Bank. That didn't come up in our previous conversation, which is super exciting. I just had a guest on the show, I think about a month ago, and her name is Michelle. Michelle said, I wanted to get into social change, but one of my professors said, if you want to get into social change, get into finance. And so today she's a bankruptcy lawyer. And I think this is maybe what you and I connect so much with is just what you said. And I'd love for you to just kind of speak on this again and kind of repeat some of the stuff you just said, because it's so powerful. If you want social change, it happens in finance. And you're talking about in terms of economics and incentives. Why is it that we don't take better care of that? Why don't we take advantage of the economic system for the social change that really needs to happen?
So I think this is actually the most exciting thing that's happening in our country right now, which is that we are finally democratizing the kinds of innovations that we have been doing in engineering and coding for decades now, driven by Silicon Valley's massive amount of capital. But all of a sudden, AI has made it possible for us to be innovating on other people's problems. And that's where I think innovation in the South and Midwest is about to explode, because we are the people who actually understand these frontline problems that no Stanford PhD in a garage in Silicon Valley understands. And frankly, the flows of capitals that were required to address those, like do those kinds of startups, all centered around the coasts. So now all of a sudden it's about what are our problems that can get solved. And that's what's really exciting to me.
No, I totally. So I'm a nerd in a number of areas, right? When the good Lord was making
I've experienced that. Yeah.
I love to get in the nitty gritty, but from a management perspective, my favorite guy is Drucker. And Peter Drucker talked about the rise of the knowledge worker. So there's the laborer who works in the factory. Then there's the knowledge worker who and his magic skill is the means of production. Now matches the company, and that's the software engineer or the knowledge worker. But what you just said is amazing. We are literally living through a cultural revolution where not only the means of production, but the capital and the skill via AI to do the stuff that used to only be relegated to Silicon Valley is now in our hands. That is a super, super exciting time to be alive.
Oh, yeah. When you think of what it meant when the Japanese mass production things empowered a worker to stop the line and say, hey, something's going wrong. We need to fix this. Like, that was a level of empowerment to the worker that we just hadn't seen. And now we're in a completely different scale of what that looks like, where somebody on the front line of saying, well, listen, I have this company and it makes peanut butter. And I know that the reason that I can't get workers to come work my second shift making peanut butter is that they can't get there. Like, it's not on the bus line. Well, what if somebody had the tools to innovate on that problem? And then, frankly, they could launch that product. And in the South and Midwest and densely networked communities, they can pilot it. Well, now all of a sudden you've created a tech-based scalable company solving a problem that no one else could even really see. Like, that's the next level of innovation.
I love, yes. This is why I had you on the show. Like, I'm like, my mind is already being blown. The idea that because of technology, each one of us can pull the line and say, hey, there's something wrong here, and I know how to fix it. That's a unique moment in history. It's a super exciting time to be alive. Okay.
No, and I think this is that, like you and I have talked a lot about deploying capital for social good.
Yes.
The way that capital has been deployed to this point has been like, oh, great. How big of a problem can I solve? Right. So we've got what is essentially a $1 billion AOL instant messenger in a company like Slack. Right? It is a unicorn, but it's solving a very specific problem for a very specific population. It is a knowledge worker thing, and that's all fine. But when, a frontline waitress struggles to get somebody to replace her on her shift next Tuesday because she wants to go to her kids' play, and there's, what she's doing right now is texting a bunch of people. Her manager may or may not want the person who says I'm available. There's no system for that because the problem's not being felt by the people who have access to the innovation ecosystem and the capital to start a company and the experience of that. All of that is changing.
Yes. No, I love this. When I do work with companies, of course, I do how to grow your small business sort of work. I also do like how to fix your culture sort of work for larger organizations. The number one thing that I hear is it's essentially the modern version of I just can't find good help these days.
Yeah.
Right. Which is it's a leadership and a vision problem. It's a culture problem, but a lot of times it's a practical problem.
It's a practical problem. Or at least a lot of it is a practical problem. Not all of it, right? There is a piece of culture, for the potential workers. But some of this is literally, I can't find childcare on second shift.
Right. So, we laugh at first world problems, but just a story from my life. I was working at an engineering company. We were going through a tight time, and the economy had retracted back in 2009 time frame, and so we're being asked to work all this overtime. And the VP gets up there and he basically says, in pretty clear terms, I don't understand what the complaint about overtime is. I work 80 hours a week every week. But I was like, I make 80K and you make 3 million. Like,
Right.
I would hope, like, even if you worked a 600-hour week, I don't think it would be the same hourly wage. Like, so, when you're at a certain level in the company, like you said, the entrepreneurs, the capital folks, the folks that are senior in the corporation, they don't have a problem with childcare because they have a nanny, right? Or
Right.
or their kids are dropped
It,
off in private school by the au pair. Like, people
yes.
forget the real problems that happen at the people that add the most value to their company.
Well, I mean, that's where what we are really focused on innovation is innovation for people who make things, who move things, and who directly serve people. Like that's where I believe that the technology is going to enable game-changing innovation right now. And
I
that's what
love
we're
that.
focused on.
So people make things, they move things, and they what?
Serve people directly.
Make things, move things, and serve people. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. So can you tell me a story? Did you have an epiphany when you said, this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, I can tell you the epiphany that I had for this company was I was doing work in healthcare innovation with the Health Equity Innovation Hub at the University of Louisville. And one of the things that I could see was that the barriers to people getting to the clinical or being successful after a clinical engagement had almost nothing to do with the actual medical or clinical issue. It had to do with, can I get to the doctor's appointment? Do I have childcare? Do I have food in my pantry that is appropriate for the condition that I have? And what was fascinating to me is that there were lots and lots of funding streams that were available to meet those needs and problems. But the people that felt the problems, or even the institutions that struggled with this, were like, well, that's not my lane. The biggest problem that doctors' offices often have is no-shows. That's the most expensive problem in a lot of healthcare.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, and some now are starting to say, well, maybe I'll run a bus service, or maybe I'll go pick people up. Well, it turns out, like, for non-emergency medical transit, you can bill Medicaid for that. You can bill insurance for that. Oh, but why are we not doing that? Well, because the paperwork's super complicated.
Yeah.
And that for me was like an aha moment of, oh, there are these funding streams available. And so I started to go try and solve that problem. But along the way, I realized that in exactly that same mechanism, and in a slightly less complicated way, there were resources for employers who wanted to help their workers or hire from what we call undertapped talent pools. And those were not being accessed at all. And so that was what led us to start Essential Innovations.
No, I love that. I'm in Lexington. You're in Louisville. We're separated by, I think, 72 miles. But Kentucky is a remarkably generous state. America is a remarkably generous country. The problem is not finding people that want to give. The problem for a lot of folks that give, and I've done my time at the soup kitchens, is you don't know how to give. And I love what you're bringing up. In my mind, oh, there's a program for that. You fill out the paperwork and it makes it happen. Or to be a little bit more, straw man here, well, you have your assistant fill out the paperwork and then it's all taken care of. But the reality is that that's not the case. The people that need it the most have the least access, maybe sometimes knowledge, and certainly the time to fiddle with the paperwork. So we have all these programs, but we can't get the help to the people that need it because they don't know how to get access to it.
Yeah, and frankly, at this stage of my life, having run a number of nonprofits, like, I'm steering away from the grants and donations universe. What we're trying to do is help people to access programs that they are eligible for. Check these boxes. I'm hiring somebody who's had a felony conviction in the last year. I am interested in hiring a veteran who's under the age of 40 who has been unemployed for at least 1 month. Like, fill out these things, manage that compliance process, and boom, yes. So it doesn't depend on people's generosity. Because I think some of what we have done is create structures that are intended to be beneficial to the employer and to the employee, but we have unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, made them inaccessible. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And if I could say one bit on the political universe, one
Please
of the
do.
few things that everyone in our country agrees on is that the best social program is a job that lets somebody be self-sufficient.
Yes.
And so the more that we can work with, folks who want to work, and there's lots of people who say, oh, no one wants to work. And that is, some of that is true, but we're not going to be able to solve that problem. Let us not be hamstrung by the fact that we can't solve that problem in the short term into not trying to solve the problem for the people that are dying and desperate to get into work and just
Yep.
can't make the systems work for them.
Yeah. And not having reliable transport as a straw man here is a real problem.
Yeah.
I have kids that are 18, and I've told them intentionally, welcome to the world. Go make your way in it. I will advise. Maybe sometimes I'll help, but my goal is to never really help them economically, maybe to bless them occasionally, but I want them to struggle and to figure out and to drive the beater car and to do the thing. But it's if you have not reliable transportation, that's a problem.
All right. So now let's pull that thread a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm an employer who knows, I will use this as a real life example from a conversation I had in a demo 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Employer says, I've got a pool of people coming out of our local public school system that want to come work for me.
Yep.
They are young and cannot afford a car. I am their first job. So what's happening organically right now is that I hire them, and then somebody as an apprentice, and when they come to work full time, hopefully somebody on my line who has a car says, sure, dude, I'll drive you. Now, that's not systemic. And it's not a program. It's like a thing that happens.
Right. It's
He's like, that's been great.
Yeah.
So now let's fast forward into an innovation ecosystem that says, well, that's a real problem for small employers. Can we use AI to build a system that enables that ride share, facilitates that ride share? Absolutely. That took me literally half an hour. Cool.
Right.
Thank you, Replit. Right. Okay, now how do I understand the insurance implications for that employer making this a benefit where, hey, if you pick somebody up, I'll pay you an extra $10 a day. Okay. That is so worth it for the employer.
Yeah.
We spend a little time with Perplexity. Perplexity says in Kentucky, that's regulated under KRS, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden, somebody who sees that problem could start that company to provide that product to employers.
So this is what I love. And I think this is what we connect on so much. AI has the potential to be so ultra productive that now the naysayers say, oh, it's going to ruin the workforce. There's not going to be any entry-level jobs, blah, 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 blah. I see it. And I think this is what we connect on our vision. This is an opportunity for us to solve these sticky problems that you'd have to hire a lawyer for. And then you'd have to hire 6 coders to make a database and to hook it up and make it a web app. And in other words, you just can't do it. It's not the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Right.
Now the juice is worth the squeeze.
We're democratizing innovation.
It's so exciting. All right.
It is so. Now, I'm not saying the other stuff is not real. Like the other concerns around AI, totally freaky. Yes, we should be freaked out about that. But the pieces of, can I solve this problem that previously, because it wasn't a $1 billion market, because it didn't have a giant moat, couldn't get access to the capital you needed to even begin to test whether this is a real thing.
Right.
And then I'll add another piece that you and I have talked about with some of the capital pieces. All right. So we know that this is a real problem, right? Can we then say to not people just looking to do social good, but investors, hey, look, I got this product. I think we can bring it to market. You are an employer who has not $100 billion to invest, but would you put $50,000 or $100,000, and would you pilot this thing when we get it off the ground?
Yes.
That, right?
Yeah. The idea is, can we, I think the age of philanthropy is done. There's always a need. I mean, I've had moments in my life. I've had people in my family who've had moments in their life. I've had folks come and live with me for, 6 months at a time. There are moments we just need help, and that's totally fine. And so philanthropy there's
a space for that.
there's a space for that. And it's a beautiful moment where you build relationship and humility both on both sides. Anyway, but the level of philanthropy that we go through is not sustainable. And there is philanthropy fatigue. Everybody, everybody's, oh, it's easy to get money. It's not as easy to get money as it used to be. And
No,
the people
it's
that are
not.
giving money are exhausted giving to the same money pit. Um, can we use technology to give sustainable philanthropy? Let's give a lump of money to get this little innovation running, and then
Right.
now it takes care of itself and can grow on its own. I mean, if you want to grow something, start a bureaucracy, right? But what if we actually started something useful? Um,
I
so
mean, my friend Bryce Butler from Access Capital or Access Ventures talks all the time about the idea of venture philanthropy. Philanthropy should be the highest risk tolerant capital that we have, but it's not,
yeah,
because we say to nonprofits, solve this problem, don't fail, do it on a shoestring, don't pay yourselves.
right.
And, for me, frankly, that's where what I'm interested in is actually going the other direction, which is leveraging the systems to build those kinds of companies and products that benefit the world, but almost accidentally. Like, the reason we benefited is because it's a real problem that needs to be solved.
Yes. I call it, the barriers to entry have raised. It used to be if you could like cut somebody's hair. I do a lot of work in Africa, and the amount of money it takes to change somebody's life is so insignificant compared to what it
Right.
is here. So one of the things that we need to do as leaders, as innovators in America, is give people a step ladder or stepping stones to get over that initial, and then enter the American dream.
And I
But
think the entry point to the American dream, the barriers are so often invisible to the holders of capital and the people with experience doing innovation, both of which really matter.
100%, because to
That
us,
you
it's
just,
native.
to your point earlier in the conversation, I am a high level CEO, HR manager. It's been so long, if ever, that I have struggled with unreliable transportation. Right?
Right,
Maybe my kids, but I bought them a beater, and but you still bought your kids a car. They're not on
right.
the bus for an hour and a half trying to get to a $15 an hour job.
Yes, and by the way, my first car was $500. I just recently bought my teenagers a car to fiddle with, right? Which was a beater, like, salvage thing. It was, $5,000. I mean, that's a 10x.
Yeah,
That doesn't describe inflation. It's a different effort to find that reliable car.
100%. And same thing for housing. Same thing. There's lots of
Yes.
pieces of this. To you were talking about your experiences doing stuff in Africa. So I started my career for the World Bank doing microfinance,
Mm.
and with the organizations that we
Yes.
worked with,
Yes.
I mean, we're literally giving out $17 loans to buy a chicken to women who would then sell the eggs.
Yeah,
And that was great.
and
You
change their
could,
protein intake for a lifetime, right? Yes.
well, right. And then they had money for school fees for their kids. I mean, there's lots of the knock-on effects to that. But one of my really interesting takeaways is when we supported the microfinance institutions who were making those loans, when we supported them with the right combination of technology and technical training, they made money.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is still true, but at one point, the largest bank in Mexico was a microfinance bank that initially started as a philanthropic effort. And it was really complicated for the philanthropists who had given money when this thing IPO'd for $1 bajillion. And it was
Right.
still providing financial services to people on the margins, but they were making a lot of money while they were doing it. And to me, like, those are the opportunities I'm looking for. I'm not looking to get into a space where we're trying to pull money from philanthropy right now. What I'm looking to do is say, I'm meeting an economic problem for employers. I need workers. And there are tax and training credits that are available for me to hire somebody, to support them, and then upskill them. But I'm not doing it because my overwhelmed HR team correctly says the juice isn't worth the squeeze for us to do that. And then we come in and say, well, listen, we've got a system that's technologically automates this. It takes you about an hour to onboard. And then I need to talk to you for 5 minutes. I don't need to talk to you. I need you to upload a file when you hire somebody that takes 30 seconds. That's it.
Yes.
That's what I need from you.
Yes.
And they're like,
Right.
yeah, let's do that.
So I know that you're on a timeline here, so I'm just going to kind of reset the conversation.
Yeah.
What you are specifically working on right now. Let's imagine that I'm a small business owner. Maybe I have 10 employees. Maybe I'm a medium size. I have 100, 150 employees. Frontline workers who are
Yep.
turning wrenches, they're digging
Yep.
ditches, they're welding things, they're doing real work,
Changing bedpans.
right? That a
Yep.
frontline worker is making probably between 30 and 60,000 a year.
Yep.
Uh, but there are tax credits that I, as an employer, can get that
Yep.
are going to cover maybe $6,000 a year, right? Like what sort of tax credits exist to help me hire one of these folks?
So there's a couple different buckets. So on hiring, the we usually start with the work opportunity tax credit. It's called WOTC.
Okay.
And that can range from $2,400 to $9,600. And it's on hiring. And then the way it works is that the longer that person stays employed by you, up to that maximum, you
Right.
get what can starts at 20% of their payroll up to 40%. So that's the first thing we usually start with. And that's folks who are coming off of SNAP, who have been on long-term unemployment, TANF, veterans, anyone who's coming out of the foster care system. I mean, like often second chance. I mean, these are people that you want. They are people
Yeah.
who are trying to get into the workforce and can't. Then we get you those tax credits, which de-risks that. We also have a slew of resources to help people, employers, to support those folks when they get into the workforce. And some of that is training credits. I'll take Kentucky as an example, although most states do this. If you are upskilling somebody in a certain industry, manufacturing, healthcare, the state wants that to happen. And so they will often subsidize that training in partnership with the community college system or separately. But again, HR teams are overwhelmed. And so what we're doing is being the easy button for those teams.
Yeah.
People I want to talk to. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. I mean, I've been in government contracting most of my career. I've written plenty of contracts. I mean, you're putting 60 to 600 hours into a bid, depending on the activity. If you're spending a high level, white collar position to do that, it's not worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
But
and once we get these systems rolling, you don't have to think about them again. I mean, that's the beautiful part of what technology is doing right now. Like it's just, I never, one of our clients is FMS cleaning. Like they're great. We've got this in their system now. They give us the stuff. Their employees are often handwriting their employment applications. English is not their first language. It doesn't matter. We can use AI to suck that up and then provide value both to the employer and the employee. So here's a crazy thing. Did you know that it is illegal for nonprofit hospitals to collect medical debt on people who more or less below the 200% of the federal poverty line?
I did not.
That's why these massive multi-million-dollar companies that don't pay taxes, because they are supposed to be providing this service to anyone below this level. And that's like that's going to be depending on where, like that's $40,000 a year. That's a lot of America.
Yeah.
Right. Those programs, they're all called charity care. Every individual hospital has a different version of it that the paperwork is complicated.
Nice.
Oh, we've got a problem where we're helping a vulnerable set of population to address an issue that if you believe that your wages are going to be garnished the second you get a job, you are way less likely to go get a job.
Oh, right. Totally.
Right. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm going to declare bankruptcy. Oh, it's better to be on some kind of, government service, even if you can see an immediate path. If we can eliminate that barrier for people or for marginal workers who are more likely to quit.
Yeah.
What a benefit we can provide to employers. And by the way, it's free. Because for us, our costs of doing that are nothing.
Well, and it's even better than free because right now we have government employees sitting at a desk manning the tickets take counter to give you money to help to take care of your employees, which is going to raise the morale of your team, and it's going to allow you to hire people more efficiently, and it's going to have there's so much benefits that are just compiling. We're literally paying people to take tickets, and nobody's showing up to take the ticket, to cash in the ticket.
That's the deal. Fewer than 1% of small businesses fewer than 1% of small businesses are even registered to take advantage of these programs.
That is the type of social innovation that we need to do. If you want to change your society, get into finance. And this is why I'm so excited for Essential Innovations. Listen, I know that you have a hard stop here at 9:30. We're at 9:26. So I'm going to give you the floor for a couple minutes here. So the floor is yours, and then I will close out the show.
Cool. Thanks, Dirk. What we are looking for in Essential Innovations are employers who are struggling to fill high turnover frontline positions. And what we do is serve as the easy button for allowing them to access the tax and training credits and other resources that are intended to help them meet their workforce needs, particularly when they're employing folks from undertapped talent pools. So if you are one of those people who are in an industry where you make something, you move something, or you directly serve people, and you want resources to help fill your talent needs, we're your people.
I love it. Listen, I love Ben. He's an amazing guy. He's lived a lifetime of making a significant difference in society. If you are a small business owner, a medium-sized business owner, you're the CFO, you're the HR manager, you need Essential Innovation Services. You know why? Because I've talked to you, and every single one of you says it's so hard to find good people. And then when you find them, you're like, oh, how are we going to manage our healthcare increases this year? What if I could wipe out your entire healthcare increase, improve your employee engagement, keep everybody excited, showing up to work on time with services that are free that you're currently not taking advantage of? And for you, it's 5 minutes of work. You need to get off your duff, tell your boss, tell your CEO, tell your CFO to call Ben. He will meet with you. It's easy. 24 minutes is what the average call for him is 24 minutes. What if 24 minutes from now, you erased your entire healthcare increase for the year and blessed your employees and got to live and work the way that you want to and the way that your employees need you to? If that's you, hint, hint, it is. Call Ben, tell him you saw him on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. And with that, we are out.